I would like to preface this video by saying that this guide will focus on the mechanics of Amber's meld team and how I've been making pre-C4 Amber work in my team, rather than discuss character kits and how to build the team, though I'll still mention a few details in these areas throughout the video. Additionally, I know there are other variants of Amber's meld team, but I'll focus on the specific 4-star character meld team shown on the screen, as I wanted to apply Furu's meld team to pre-C4 Amber. If you want more details on these topics, I'll link guides from other players such as Furu and Nitrotom. They've made excellent guides on other types of Amber teams and how to build them. This video will be divided into the following sections shown on the screen. Feel free to skip to any parts of the video if you're already familiar with some of these topics. I'll start off by briefly describing the bunny nuking playstyle. This playstyle involves maximizing value out of Amber's C2 constellation, which gives Baron Bunny a 200% damage bonus when Amber shoots an arrow in the area around Baron Bunny's foot. Because of the outstanding area of effect damage a manually detonated Baron Bunny can produce, players will focus all their resources from supports into Amber before detonating Baron Bunny. With Amber's C4 constellation, Baron Bunny receives a cooldown reduction from 15 seconds to 12 seconds and gains 2 charges, which gives Amber higher damage potential. This relatively large damage output makes bunny nuking the most popular playstyle Amber players use in a Spiral Abyss. Despite touching on C4 Amber a few times, I'd like to reiterate that this video will describe how I've been trying to make Amber work without this powerful constellation. Unfortunately, I don't have C4 Amber at the time of releasing this video. The lack of Amber's C4 constellation creates the following issues. Firstly, I'm missing one bunny nuke each rotation, which drops Amber's DPS output considerably. This also results in a considerable amount of DPS downtime, so I make up for this by using charge attacks. Secondly, Amber has energy issues without the second Baron Bunny each rotation. For context, Baron Bunny produces 4 pyro particles, which gives Amber 12 energy, and Amber's burst cost is 40 energy. However, it may be unclear why the second issue is a problem. To give some context, some players will slot in an Anemo character and use the 4-piece Viridescent Venerer artifact set for debuffing the enemy's pyro res. If Amber is the only pyro character on the team, there are only 3 ways to apply a pyro aura on the enemy: using a charge attack, blowing up Baron Bunny, or using Amber's burst. The problem with the first 2 options is that they are relatively slow and awkward for the rotation. That is, you need to manually apply pyro with a charge attack or spend time either waiting for Baron Bunny to explode or manually blow it up. Additionally, we want to maximize Baron Bunny's damage, so using its cooldown early for this purpose will make Amber lose out on a lot of damage potential. Moreover, if there's already a cryo aura on the enemy, the player would have to override it with a pyro aura using multiple charged attacks or Baron Bunnies, which becomes increasingly difficult when there's a source of cryo application on field. With Amber's ult, however, the player has access to a fast source of pyro application that makes it difficult for other sources of cryo application to override this pyro aura. This gives the Anemo character an opportunity to swirl pyro. Thus, because of the importance of Amber's burst in the rotation, we have to solve her energy issue. Before I discuss more details about my pre-C4 meld Amber team, I would like to note a few disclaimers to avoid some confusion. If it looks like I'm not always standing in Diona's signature mix, it's because I don't have C6 Diona, so I won't receive a 200 elemental mastery buff from standing in her burst. However, I'll talk about what to do for players that do have C6 Diona. I also don't own Polar Star, but I'll still mention a few details about this weapon throughout the video. Lastly, Diona uses 4-piece Instructor, which isn't a commonly known artifact set. Also, if it helps, I'll briefly show the builds I use on my characters on the screen. Feel free to pause the video if you need to. Because we still want to maximize Baron Bunny's damage, we need to find a way to apply all the buffs available in the team to Amber without them wearing off before the moment a manually detonated Baron Bunny registers damage on the enemy. I'll list on the screen the buffs we need to feed into Amber. Noblesse Oblige on Rosaria, Rosaria's crit rate buff, Elegy for the End on Diona, C6 Diona's Elemental Mastery buff, 4-piece Instructor's Elemental Mastery buff on Diona, Sucrose's Elemental Mastery Share from both of her Ascension passives, the Pyro Viridescent Venerer res debuff, Sucrose's Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayer's buff, and Polar Star's stacks. I assume most players don't have this weapon, so I'll show a rotation with and without the stack building strategy. Additionally, Sucrose's Ascension 4 passive can pass 20% of elemental mastery buffs from other sources like C6 Diona's signature mix to Amber, so we want to use Diona's burst and trigger 4-piece instructor's set effect before we use Sucrose's skill in a rotation. Lastly, from my experience, the minimum number of times Rosaria must use her skill to generate enough energy for Amber to get her burst back every rotation is 3, with one instance of particles being funneled into Amber. Now, that's a lot of buffs we need to manage, but I do have a fixed rotation that applies all these buffs to Amber in such a way that they don't wear off before Baron Bunny registers damage on the enemy. I'll be basing the rotation time on the ability with the highest cooldown on the team, which is Diona's signature mix. The rotation is the following: Diona's hold skill, Rosaria's skill, Sucrose's normal attack, Amber's burst, Diona's burst, Sucrose's skill, Rosaria's burst into skill, Amber's skill and detonate Baron Bunny, Amber's first charge attack and then a second charge attack, Rosaria's skill, and lastly, Amber's third charge attack and fourth charge attack. You might notice that adding Amber's fourth charge attack extends the rotation from 20 seconds to 21 seconds. The reason I included this fourth charge attack is that without this extra charge attack, it's possible to complete the rotation in 19 seconds on accident, which means you may miss out on the Thrilling Tales buff in the next rotation and awkwardly wait for Diona's signature mix to come off cooldown. Additionally, Rosaria's first skill in a rotation won't be off cooldown unless we spend that extra time to use a fourth charge attack on Amber. Thus, this extra charge attack helps ensure a smoother rotation.